and welcome to Master of Orion 2 Battle at Antares. For this video I'll be doing audio commentary where I go into depth about all the gameplay mechanics, kind of doing like a tutorial. I'll go into more depth in this one compared to the previous one based on feedback, and I'll also try a different playstyle. Hopefully the microphone issue is sorted now. I have turned in the program I'm using, I've changed up the ratios of the audio capture between in-game versus microphones, so hopefully that's fixed now. But yeah, for this one I won't be playing Telepathic because as probably saw in the previous one, Telepathic is very, very strong. So I'll try a different style, maybe a bit of diplomacy, more research, that sort of thing. So I'll do a huge galaxy, so I'll design a race which kind of balances those factors and is able to stand on its own without the wave of force aggression that I like to play. So right off the bat I'll just mention down here the version I'm using, so the 1.5 mod, improve plus picks. So go ahead and go new game. Impossible, why not? We'll go huge. All this other stuff will remain the same. Galaxy age average, 8 players. I think there's a random option there. Tech level average, and then this stuff, tactical combat, random events, and Antaran's attack. Tactical combat, well, if you're new to the game and you're not so, like, if you find the combat a little bit intimidating, which I certainly did when I first played this, consider turning tactical combat off, so then you can focus on the 4X elements of the game, like technology and exploration and diplomacy, that sort of thing. And what that means is if you have a fleet of ships and you attack another fleet of ships or something like that, then it'll just kind of show up a auto-resolved result. And oftentimes the ships will trade out against each other, but I think it'll depend on what kind of technology they have outfitted. And you don't have to worry about ship design either. So if it's your very first time playing, I'd recommend probably turning tactical combat off, just so you can kind of take one step at a time. If you're interested in, and you've got the time, of course, to get into this game, then that first game, maybe turn it off, makes it a bit simpler. I'd probably recommend turning Antaran's attack off as well. And as for this other stuff, obviously wouldn't recommend playing on Impossible. I think average is a good middle ground, of course, right? It's got a little bit of a description there, tells you what you can expect. Oh, I didn't realize it actually tells you what the computer get as bonuses. I do wonder if this is a new thing in this mod, but it actually will just tell you straight up what the bonuses are. So on Impossible, extra racial abilities, +1 food per farmer, +2 per worker and scientist, and +3/4 BC population, so per population, so 75% more income. I think that's what that means. There you go. So all their population just work harder, basically, and they get more racial abilities. So yeah, I think when I first started playing, I played on easy. Opponents are significantly more friendly than it is realistic to expect. Average is best for players who are familiar with the basics of the game, including espionage and diplomacy. There you go. So maybe play around with easy if it's your first time playing, and then you can move up to average and some of this other stuff here. So for this game, I'm just going to put it on Impossible. As for galaxy size, well, it's going to depend on how many players you have, of course. If you go with the full 8, then I'd recommend large or huge. If you're just starting, maybe cluster as well, just so cluster's the same as large, except there's more stars. So the more stars within the same area, let's say. So that actually might be beneficial as well if it's your first time, because a lot of the stars are 4 parsecs within 4 parsecs of each other, which means with the starting fuel cells, you'll be able to travel to them. Whereas on large, there's less stars and they're greater distance apart, so you might need better fuel cells to reach more stars. Who knows though, maybe that could make it more interesting. For this one I'm just going to play on huge. Got a description there. So just pause the video if you want to have a full read of that. Galaxy Age, I always just play on average. Not really sure what to say about that, but that one's pretty self-explanatory. And then tech level. This one is a bit more complex, very specific to this particular game. I'd recommend just playing on average. Post-warp, I think, just advances everyone in the tech tree a little bit. Advanced is you're quite deep into the tech tree. You have many stars and you have a full fleet. So don't really recommend this. I think I said in the last video, if you're gonna play this, or the kind of people that'd be interested in this sort of game, probably aren't gonna play on advanced. And if like those sorts of people that would play it that way would, you know, you might as well play a game that just throws you right into it, like StarCraft. One of these like a real-time strategy game, like just kind of throws you right into it. You just get down to business. It doesn't have that slow build-up and development of your empire. That sort of side to the game, like this and Civilization, and can't really think of any other games, but this game I guess is pretty similar to Civilization. It's kind of like Civilization in space, I think, to some extent. Pre-warp just slows things down. I don't really bother with that. I just go straight to average. Okay, so I'll jump right in. Now, once again, I'm going to design a race. Now, I'm going to pick Cylons. Again, these races I think are not very good, or they're just not optimized, let's say. So if it's your first time playing, I think and you're playing on those easier difficulties or whatever, it's perfectly fine to pick these. Like, it's not, the game isn't designed, you know, so that you're meant to be an expert the first time you play it. So picking these is perfectly fine, of course. But when you're playing on Impossible, you probably want to customize your own. That way you can basically or min-max, as they call it, maximize certain advantages while minimizing certain weaknesses according to your playstyle. The only other thing to consider, I also explained this in the other video, choosing your race picture sounds like a trivial thing, but it's not, because who you pick will mean that the computer won't be playing as that race. So you essentially pick who you don't want to be versing. And if you haven't played the game very much, then you're probably really not going to know who you don't want to verse, so it's not going to make a difference. But once you get into it and you come across certain races which are bothersome, then you can basically take them out of the game. So I like to pick Cylons. That way it takes a creative race out of the game. Because the problem with a creative race, they can be difficult to beat. Sometimes they're pretty straightforward to beat, but they research everything and then they share it with the other races, like the other computer players, which is obviously to your detriment. So I'm going to go ahead and pick them. I'm going to clear this. Now, as for racial abilities, I'm going to play sort of like a techno or technology focused, population focused, more diplomatic game. So charismatic is an interesting ability, and I could talk through all of these. That would take a long time to discuss all their. I think that'd probably be a video by itself. What's good and what's bad. All I can really recommend is, like for now, is to just right click on them, read the descriptions, and decide for yourself whether that sounds pretty cool, and just play and see what happens. I think that's the best way to do it. If you don't have a lot of time though, and you want to kind of just cut to the chase about like what's good and what isn't, then perhaps do it, like just go online, do some research about what's good and what isn't. I'll just give you a few call outs though. I think most of the stuff on the left hand side, I'm not a big fan of it. Occasionally I'll take negative population growth just to get the negative picks there. But this other stuff with food, industry, science, and money, that there, 0.5, -6, that's -6 for a reason. You basically have no money. So very, very bad. Basically, and like these other ones as well, like it's too bad to have. Like you can see why it's so many points. I think in the base game, each of these is, yeah, it used to be -3, but they increased it to -5. Same thing with this one. Like all of your population being at -1 industry is very, very, very bad. So not really acceptable. As for governments, this is probably one of the more interesting ones. Feudal is kind of like a military-focused anti-science approach, or anti-science government. As you can see there, these are the top two most important things. Ship production costs are reduced, so that's actually a benefit. You would think, oh, -4. There's only penalties, right? But no, this actually has a benefit. Ship production costs are reduced by 1/3. And then you give it a massive penalty here. All research generated by scientists and treaties is reduced by 50%. And then you've got this. This is some more generic stuff. So you got a morale penalty. If you don't have a marine barracks, that's the same for dictatorship, by the way. And then you got your assimilation rate. All governments are going to have an assimilation rate. So you kind of have to compare these. So 1 every 8 turns, you might think, well, so what? But dictatorship is also 1 every 8 turns. Whereas democracy 1 every 4 turns, and then unification is 1 every 20 turns. Which is kind of an interesting sort of mechanic there. So democracy, because it's democracy, people can assimilate into it faster because it's got that individual freedom sort of element to it. Whereas unification's more like a hive mind. So it's very difficult to assimilate people, and hence it's 1 every 20 turns. And then you have feudal and dictatorship, which are kind of generic, so it's 1 every 8 turns. But yeah, so that's feudal. Dictatorship costs 0, so you have to have a government. You can't have no government, as you can see. Like, no matter what I click, I can't change it. But yeah, dictatorship, if you don't want to spend any points or take on any penalties, then you just go with 0. That's why it costs 0, but you have to have a government. So dictatorship, have a read there of the stuff. But it's pretty sort of just middle of the road. The key call out, I think, with dictatorship is when you go up to imperium, which is the advanced government. So each government has its advanced version, which in the field of sociology, or the category of sociology, you have to research very, very deep, and then you get access to the advanced government. So if you take feudal, for example, you get confederation. Ship production costs are reduced by 2/3. So your ships become very cheap. The research penalty is reduced, so before it was 50%, then it becomes 25, and you also assimilate faster. Okay, that's kind of nice. Now a dictatorship, very middle of the road, so you have the morale penalty, then you just build the marine barracks to get rid of that. You get a +10 bonus for security, which is this is spying. It just says defensive agents, but it's talking about spying. And then you get the assimilation rate 1 every 8 turns. And then Imperium is the advanced dictatorship. So command rating is increased by 50%. Not a great explanation, but that means the number of command points you have. So if you've got 5 star bases, you probably have a lot more than that by the time you research this. But let's say you got 21 star bases, so that's 21 command points. Then you have your base 5, so you got 26. When you get this, it'll just boost it by 50% to 39. So quite good actually. It gets rid of the morale penalty, as you can see there. And then the marine barracks increases morale by 20%. So right off the bat, you just get a morale boost. And morale, the way morale works is that it increases everything in the colony. So taxes, not very realistic, I know. For some reason, people being happy makes them pay more taxes. They also produce more food, industry, and science. So having good morale is good, and having bad morale is bad across the board. You also get a slightly higher defensive bonus for your spies, and you assimilate faster. Democracy and unification are two kind of special governments. Democracy, emphasis on trade, so you got the 50% extra, 50% tax revenues there, so you get more money, and you've got the free exchange of ideas, so you've got more research. Unfortunately, though, it comes at a cost, and that is that you get this -10 spying penalty. You assimilate faster, and you're prohibited from annihilating captured populations. That one's not that big a deal, I think, but it's nice flavor, I would say. In Federation, which is the advanced democracy, the research and monetary bonus increases to 75. Assimilation goes even better, 1 every 2 turns. And then you don't have a morale penalty for multiracial colonies. Interesting. Unification, probably the most unique one, I would say. They're all quite unique. Dictatorship and feudal are kind of similar, but unification, yeah. This is like a hive mind sort of thing. So you've got higher food and industry. That's very good. There's no morale, which is good and bad. So if you get technologies or leaders which increase your morale, then well, you can't really use them because no one in your entire empire has a morale effect. But it also means you don't get morale penalties, so that's kind of nice. You get a higher defensive bonus for your spies, but this one's actually a bit of a doozy, and that is that the assimilation rate is 1 every 20 turns, so it takes a long time to assimilate. There is a building or a technology which is called the Alien Management Center, which speeds this up. I think it doubles the speed, so that's quite good. But yeah, it still takes a while. And then you get Galactic Unification, which is the special unification. Fully interconnected collective consciousness. Food and industry bonuses double, and assimilation time, well, gets better. Not much better, but it does get better. So there you go. Now for this one, I am actually going to just go with dictatorship. Nice middle of the road basic one. But in terms of diplomacy, I'm going to pick some other stuff. So I'm going to take charismatic. You can have a read. Just pause the video if you want to read the full thing. But you get some diplomatic bonuses. And I'm going to need those because I'm playing on impossible, so you suffer a major diplomacy penalty by by playing on impossible. So I'm going to take that. Also going to go with minus 10 ground combat just to get some extra picks here. Rich Homeworld, very nice to have. I'm not going to go with Warlord this time. Fantastic Traders is an interesting one. You get more from trade treaties. I'm going to take that. And I'm going to... I do want to take some penalties as well. I usually take these. I'm going to go minus 50% population growth. Hopefully I won't regret that. But I am going to be playing a more sort of defensive style where I focus on growing population, that sort of thing. So I'll take Subterranean. So that Subterranean basically is this game's pretty complex in how it determines population. It's fairly complex. Well, the formulas themselves are pretty basic, but you have it's not just a straight. This planet is worth this much. So even though this says the maximum population on any planet is increased by twice the world's size class, e.g. +6 for medium, you kind of have a base amount of population, which is for the very bad climates, and then as you get better climates, you can actually occupy a larger percentage of that planet, and then the subterranean and aquatic and tolerant will affect the formula. So here, for example, it explains that with tolerant, it increases your livable space on the planet from 25% on a barren planet to 50% on that planet. So it's pretty, I don't fully understand it, to be honest. I have to kind of put it into a spreadsheet and experiment to crunch the numbers. But the point is, subterranean doesn't just straight double the population as such, but it does increase it significantly. Also get a bonus for defending with the ground troops, which is kind of nice. And I might as well I'll actually take low G world, but get rid of minus 10 ground combat. So I've got 5 picks left. Low G world. This is an interesting one because low G is a penalty, but then high G is a bonus. Low G means your home world is low gravity, so your race is weaker, like physically weaker. Whereas high G means your race is from a high gravity world, so it's stronger. So high G, you can live on planets which are high gravity and also normal gravity without penalty. It also makes ground troops stronger. Whereas low G, anytime you go on a planet with normal G or high G, you get a penalty. If you don't have either of these, then you're going to get a penalty on high G worlds anyway. So I don't think it's that big a deal. But you'll find that the size of the planet affects its gravity, which is consistent with science, because that's it's not just well, I don't want to get too into the science of it, but basically the mass as well as size determine gravitational pull, right? So if it's a larger planet, presumably the same density, then the gravity is going to be higher. And if it's a same density but smaller, then the gravity is going to be lower. So this game is pretty true to that. Not always, but it's generally pretty true to that. Now, I'm going to take Artifacts World. This is for my home world. And let's go with... I'm actually going to mitigate the low G penalty slightly by taking +10 ground combat. And then I've got 1 point left to spend, so I'll go with large home world. So I don't know how this is going to go, but let's give it a go. See what happens. If I lose, no big deal. Now the music actually stopped, so I'm going to try and turn it back on. So I start right in the corner, so this is fairly good for just kind of playing a diplomatic game, I guess. Although I do want to make use of these abilities, right? So charismatic, expert traders. So I do want to get some. Sorry, excuse me. I do want to get some treaties happening, especially trade treaties, thanks to expert traders, because I get a 50% bonus. Now with the starting fleet, obviously you want to split this up, right? Oh, well, sorry, maybe it's not obvious, but trust me, you do want to split up so you can explore more stars. Now I can only reach 2 stars at the moment, so what I'm going to do is send 1 scout there, and I'm going to send the other scout there. If there are 3 stars, I highly recommend not exploring with the colony ship, because if you do explore with the colony ship and you run into a space monster that's not an eel, like a space eel, then they'll just kill your colony ship. Whereas if you send the colony ship with a scout, the space monster will kill the scout, but the colony ship will retreat. So non-combat ships, such as colony ships, have to have an escort, otherwise they'll just instantly be killed. And losing your starting colony ship is extremely bad, so you don't really want that to happen. Okay, so right away we've got pretty good science thanks to the artifact homeworld. You don't get an extra technology from artifact homeworld, but you do get extra science. So oops. Also got some pretty good production. It's, I took rich homeworld, so plus 20. Or 5 per worker instead of 3. So it doesn't really matter what I start building, I'll just put whatever. As for research, standard build, I'm going to go for a research laboratory. This is a... You'll have, you've kind of got 3 levels of 3 levels of buildings which increase your research, and then 3 levels of buildings which increase your industry. So for science, you've got research laboratory, as you can see there, generates 5 research points by itself, and then you also get +1 for each scientist. And then you have the advanced version of that in computers, which is planetary supercomputer. It does the exact same thing except double. So 10 by itself, and then +2 for each scientist. And then further down, we've got here we go, Galactic Cybernet, 15 by itself. So it's like a triple research lab. And you can have all 3 of these. And then for construction, we've got the automated factories, which is kind of like the research lab except for science. So you can sort of see a pattern here, right? Not every technology is like 100% unique. You kind of have some technologies which are a little bit similar to one another. We've got robo miners, which is like a double automated factory. And then down here somewhere, yeah, here we go, deep core mining, 15 production, and then +3 per worker. For food, we've got food's a little bit different. We've got soil enrichment, which increases food per farmer by 1. Weather control system, which increases by 2. And then you've got some other things like hydroponic farm, which just is a base +2 food per farmer. So when I first played this game, and what you can perhaps do is just, it's pretty interesting just reading through all this different stuff, especially the later game technologies. You can sort of see what things do. Tells you how much it costs as well. That's research points RP. Right now I have 0 research points. Oh no, actually I did, yeah, I've got 20 research points, so you can imagine that's something like a planetary supercomputer. 90 divided by 20, it's going to take a very long time. But by then you're going to have a lot more research points, so it'll go faster. So planning out what you want to get is a pretty tricky prospect because there's just so many technologies, and each field is so unique as well. Construction generally concerns obviously a lot of buildings, defensive buildings like missile base, some technologies to bolster the defensive capability of ships, so reinforced hull, for example, or heavy armor. Then you've always got some miscellaneous stuff thrown in there, like spaceport, increases the money generated by the colony. This stuff here, battle pods, is a very unique technology. Increases the space available on a ship. And then you get this later stuff. Powered armor, very good, makes your infantry stronger. And then you've got better versions of star bases like a battle station, and then Star Fortress later on. Planet construction is quite an interesting one. If you've got in your starting, it doesn't have to be in the starting, but if you have a gas giant or an asteroid belt in the star, like in the system, then planet construction will actually turn it into a barren planet, and you can colonize it. So lots and lots to talk about here. I'm not going to go through every one by one. It's probably a bit much. Be here all day basically, but you can have a good read. But construction, fairly miscellaneous, I would say. But generally, you use it for your defensive technologies and increasing production. Chemistry is not miscellaneous at all. It's three things. It's better missiles, better armor for your ships and ground troops, and all your defensive stuff as well, I guess. And also reducing pollution. And then the last thing, better fuel cells. It's pretty much just those, I think that's 4 things I listed. It's those 4 things, just in better and better versions. So right off the bat, you've got deuterium fuel cells. It means your ships, you can't fully trust these descriptions, unfortunately. But what this means is your ships can travel up to 6 parsecs from your outposts or colonies. Or if you happen to have an alliance with someone, you can also travel up to 6 parsecs from their stars. One of the benefits to having an alliance is that you can use their stars as places to refuel. But it's not like a ship has fuel and then you have so much and then you only have so much and then you have to come back and refuel. It's not like that. That'd be way too complicated. It just means, and if you press F9 you can see, it just means the ships can travel that distance. So right now I have standard fuel cells, which means the ships can travel 4 parsecs. But because the scouts actually start with this, extended fuel tanks, which is one of the starting technologies on average difficulty, average galaxy age, then the scouts, as well as the colony ship, can travel 6 parsecs, which is a nice little boost. Computers involves research and targeting, a lot of spying stuff, pretty specific. Physics generally involves weapons, better weapons, a few other miscellaneous things chucked in, like battle scanner. We've got tachyon communications. Planetary gravity generator, that just normalizes the gravity. Because I'm playing low G, I'll probably need that at some point. And then when you get into late game, you get some pretty crazy stuff like Stargate. Stellar Converter is like the ultimate, if you're wondering, in all this, hundreds of technologies, if you're wondering what is like the ultimate weapon, this is it, Stellar Converter. A tremendous plasma cannon that can be mounted on a ship or on a planet. So it's pretty cool. You can actually use it as a defensive weapon. So you have all your missile base and your star base and all that stuff. But you can actually build a stellar converter on the planet, and then it can shoot during the combat. You can just basically pick off a ship, generally kills a ship in one shot. Not always, but does a lot of damage. And if it's on a ship, you can actually use it to destroy planets. So it actually turns them into an asteroid belt. So you can have a system of 5 planets. You can turn that system into just 5 asteroid belts if you really want to. If you got this, pretty crazy. You can just make the entire galaxy pretty much uninhabitable. Power mainly concerns drives, with some other. There's always some miscellaneous stuff sprinkled in, like mega fluxes, increases the space on ships. But the main purpose for power is for better ship drives. You've got better bombs as well, like antimatter bomb. Some other random things. High energy focus is pretty cool, plus 50% damage. And you've also got towards the end, you've got this it's torpedoes, antimatter torpedo. The difference between a torpedo and a missile is that the torpedo can't be destroyed using beam weapons or anti-missile rockets. Basically can't be destroyed. And it has unlimited ammo. It can just keep on firing. It says there, fires every other turn. So it fires on the first. You can fire on the first round. Then in round 2, you've got to reload, and then in round 3 you can shoot again. So torpedoes are kind of interesting. I don't really use them, but who knows? If the opportunity arises, I'll use them. Sociology, basically what it sounds like. It's colony advancement based stuff. So it starts with the Space Academy. You've got xenopsychology, just gives you like a diplomacy bonus. Planetary stock exchange, double income for the planet. But the main thing here is the advanced government, as I explained earlier. You can improve your government. And sociology is kind of interesting because there's not a whole lot of technologies to research within each field. There's usually just one, except for xeno relations, you got 2. So it's more straightforward, I guess you could say. But yeah, Imperium. In the case of dictatorship, this is the thing to go for. Biology, pretty much what it sounds like, involves food production and population growth. Terraforming, probably the biggest call out there. The technology makes a planet more hospitable. So planets kind of have levels of climate. So I'll just kind of show you. Barren is obviously not good. Let's take a look. Food per farmer, 0. So that's not good. We've got industry and then research. I've got a worker penalty. That's because of my low gravity penalty that I picked in the yellow screen. Whereas if you look at the swamp planet, food per farmer is 2. Also got the penalty, of course, but then industry and research is the same as these barren planets. So you kind of have your level 1, I guess you could call it, which is like toxic, radiated, and barren. And in order to turn radiated into barren, you need a radiation shield. Toxic can't really be terraformed. It can't be terraformed in the base game, but they actually introduced a way to do it in the in this patch, like in this mod. I think it's down here somewhere. Weather control system enhances biomorphic fungi to clean up toxic worlds. Okay, so if you have weather control system plus biomorphic fungi, then you can actually turn a toxic planet into barren. So they really wanted to introduce a way to turn a toxic planet into barren, because in the base game you can't actually do that. So pretty interesting what they did there. And then if we go back to the description for terraforming, you can sort of see the progression. So barren becomes desert or tundra. So that's that base level that I was talking about. This is kind of next level, desert or tundra. So on those, you've got 1 food per farmer. Tundra is like ice, basically. Desert is desert. I think you get a maintenance penalty on desert as well. And on toxic and radiated, you also get a maintenance penalty. So you got to pay more for your buildings. It's a little bit annoying. Toxic is the worst because that's 50% maintenance penalty. So if you've got a total of 10 maintenance per turn on buildings, it's going to cost 15 on a toxic planet. So something to keep in mind. I'll demonstrate it when I can. Now desert becomes arid. Tundra becomes swamp. So that's kind of the level. That's the next level. Arid, I think, has better population than swamp, but swamp has better food production. And this is where it gets a little bit confusing, so I'm just going to break it down. Now, ocean, swamp, and arid become terran. Okay, so yeah, they cleaned up the description here because there was a lot of ands. It was grammatically correct, I think, technically, when they wrote it in the base game, but they've since cleaned it up a little bit in this version because it was quite a confusing thing to read. So it's pretty good now. But yeah, ocean, swamp, and arid become terran. Notice how nothing becomes ocean. So ocean is only naturally occurring. And then the more you terraform a planet, you actually have to. It costs more production to do so. So there's kind of this incrementation. Don't know if that's a word, but yeah. One other call out with terraforming is that the distance to the star actually determines. Hope this is not too much information, but the distance to the star actually determines whether it becomes desert or tundra. Believe it or not, so quite a thoughtful little thing. There's a lot of stuff like that in this game. So this planet out here, if I terraform that, it will actually become tundra, and then if I terraform it again, it will become swamp. This one here, if I terraform it, it will become desert, and then if I terraform it again, it will become arid. So I can actually plan ahead. This one's huge but poor. This one's large but abundant, and that abundant, that's the mineral resources. So here it's 2 industry per worker, whereas here it's 3. So there's 5 levels. It's ultra poor, poor, abundant, rich, and then ultra rich. So I took rich homeworld, so my homeworld is rich, which is good. But it cost me points to do that. So yeah, and this isn't the kind of game where Baron is really good for one race, but then Terran is really good for another race. Something like that. The game's not that complex. I think Master of Orion 3 has that level of complexity to it, where it's not like just this continuum of better climates. In this, it's pretty straightforward. Like better climates is better for everyone, regardless of their racial abilities. I think if they've got aquatic, then ocean and ocean and Terran aren't as well. They're already as good as Gaia, something like that. So yeah, don't think too much about that. But basically, better climate, better for every race. And there are racial abilities which kind of mitigate how bad this is, really. But generally, yes. Even with those racial abilities, if it's Terran, it's better. Nice and simple. What else have we got? Yeah, a few other things there. Not really worth talking about. And then force fields, last one, generally covers shields. So we've got ground troop shields. We've got ship shields. Then we've got planetary shields. Then we've got miscellaneous stuff like warp dissipator. Pretty dangerous if you're up against this. It means if you attack a planet and they have warp dissipator and they have a starbase, then you either better destroy the warp dissipator on the starbase by shooting it a lot, or raiding it, or just outright winning the combat. Because if you can't win, well, then you're going to lose all your ships because you can't retreat. We've got some weapons mixed in here for some reason, but we've got mass driver, And then they've got a more advanced version of Mass Driver, which is Gauss Cannon. Other than that, probably the one thing, key thing worthy of mention is the shields. Notice how it's class 1, pretty standard, and then it jumps up to class 3. You might think, well, what happened to class 2? Now the reason for that is the number is based on this. Each attack is reduced by X points of damage, where X is the type of shield. So if you go up to class 7, each attack is reduced by 7 points of damage. So I don't really know why they did it this way, but that's how they decided to do it. So it goes 1, 3, 5, 7, 10. Like there's no class 8 shield. Yeah. So yeah, a little bit weird, but that's how they decided to do it. And this thing's pretty cool, subspace teleporter. Makes your ship, if you equip it on a ship, you can teleport. Now, the problem with a lot of these descriptions is that it leaves out so much information. So for example, even Research Lab doesn't tell you how much it costs to produce. Doesn't even tell you that it's a building. Like this one, it's kind of obvious that it's a building. But if you just read this, you might think, oh, that just makes all my scientists better. End of story. But none of that. You've actually got to build it once you research it, and then you've got to pay for it on top of that. And it doesn't tell you any of that. So kind of annoying if you're trying to learn, but it's a bit of trial and error, you know. Same thing with the weapons. Doesn't tell you about levels of refinement. Doesn't tell you how much it costs. This leaves out a lot of information. I guess if they did include all of that, it might be too much information. So either way, a lot of the design in this game is quite genius. So don't want to criticize it too much, because overall I think they did just an extraordinary job with this game. Just lots of thought put into so many things. Okay, I'll just talk about these panels here, and then I'll actually finish the first turn. That's money, of course, so I have 50 and I'm getting 5 per turn. This is command points. If you just click on it, left click, it'll give you the breakdown. This is essentially how many ships your empire can have without having to pay a maintenance cost. If you right click it, it'll give you quite a lengthy description of how it works. But yeah, the main call out here, if the number is negative, each point is costing you 10 DC per turn. So generally what you want to do is stay within this, in this case, 6. It's an interesting mechanic, this one. I guess it's to stop you from just pumping out an enormous fleet. You actually have to have the infrastructure to support it. So it kind of makes sense when you think about it. This one here is food. It just tells you your net food production. We've got freighters. I think you can have a read of the description there, but basically the number in brackets is total freighters, and then the plus, that's how many freighters are not being used. So if this said +3 and then said 5 in brackets, I think I've got that right, then that means you've got 5 freighters and then 2 are being used, which will be transporting 2 food. And they only transport 2 things: food and people. And hopefully not people that are to be eaten. That would be quite unpleasant, I think. But that's all they do. So I don't know what else they could do. Maybe they could transport industry or something like that. But no, it doesn't. The game doesn't let you do that. It's just food and people. And then, of course, research. This is probably the most important button out of these 5. Okay, so I think that's enough talking for the first turn. I'm going to go ahead and end turn. And again. Okay, so I don't think this is covered by random events. Maybe it is, but found a pirate cache somehow on this planet. That's actually quite good. So you'll see here, as I mentioned before, maintenance penalty. So we've got this 25% maintenance penalty. Now buildings have a maintenance cost, which can be hard to find out. Let's see if we can. Yeah, so if I right click on the starbase, it doesn't tell me what its maintenance cost is. It has to be here in the construction menu for that to display for some reason. But a starbase costs 2, and the only other building I've got is the marine barracks, which costs 1. I do have a capital as well because it's my home planet, which doesn't have a maintenance penalty, or doesn't have a maintenance cost. And then these here, these are just houses. They don't mean anything. I think it's just there to, kind of make it look better. And then we can see up here, we've got 8 taxes collected because I've got 8 population. 3 is going towards maintaining these buildings. And then the other 5 is surplus. And that's why I've got the 5 surplus here. I can also use the info button to show my breakdown. Net income, 5 BC. Got 8, and then 38% going into buildings, which is those 3. If you do 3 divided by 8, I'm sure that would give you 38%. So yeah, that first planet actually pretty good, so I might colonize that, but we've got 1 turn until this guy reaches this star, so I'm gonna wait and see what happens there. Okay, cool. Desert also has a maintenance penalty. And we've got a wormhole down here, which is awesome. So now I can actually travel here in 1 turn. Ooh, okay. I think maybe that's probably the best planet. For these, yeah, I don't know what the verdict is on this, but I like to go for the planets with higher good mineral, or good industry, good production, because it kind of gets them started faster. So I can send the colony ship straight there, even though the star is actually 10 parsecs away, because I can reach this star, which has a wormhole going there. The game basically says, well, you know what, you can just go straight there. But it's actually faster to go here first and then go down there, so I'm going to do that. I also want to colonize a star, which is... Oh, these are 8 parsecs away. Okay. Well, either way, I'm going to go for that. But the other argument to be made is that if I took, say, this star, I might get closer to the computer players, and then the sooner I can start making treaties with them. I'm going to go for this. Right away, we've got a gravity penalty and a morale penalty. And as you can see, I can't actually reach these stars. Okay, now that we have Research Lab, I'm going to go for the next thing, which is automated factories, but of course I have to research one of these first. Now, my favourite one to get is Reinforced Hull. It's just a general sort of bolstering of your ship's defences, because the alternatives are anti-missile rockets, which I don't really care about, and fighter bays. Also don't really use that. So I don't really use either of these two, so I'm just going to go for Reinforced Hull. Got a leader being offered already. It's only 10 turns into the game. But she would reduce my pollution by 15%. I'm just going to reject for now. Now, just because you reject them right away doesn't mean that's it. They're gone. They actually stay in these... Well, they stay here. They hang around for 30 turns. So don't feel like you have to... You have to pay. You have to decide right then and there. You can always just reject and then reconsider later once you've weighed up your options and your situation. Okay, here we go. Research Lab. So now that we have researched it, now it tells us what it costs and what its maintenance cost is. As you can see there, that's $1, one BC per turn, and then production 60. So 14 production. I'm going to take 5 turns, and you can see here 0 out of 60, which will go back to my homeworld. 14 production, now 14 out of 60. And this will spill over, so you don't have to worry about wasting production, basically. And by spill over, I mean, so 14 times, I can't really think about it right now, but I think, yeah, so 4 more turns, that's another, I think that's another 56. So that'll take us up to 70. So we'll have 70 out of 60. And then the 10 production left over will go into whatever I choose to build next. Now this poor guy is starving, but fortunately there's a minimum population that can die from starvation. He's miserable and he's starving, so he's not a very happy guy right now. But he will survive. He's on the frontier after all, and that's kind of the life he signed up for. Okay, research lab is done. We'll go back into research. As you can see there's that 10 production I mentioned. That'll just go towards the next thing. Now that we've got reinforced tile, we can go for automated factories. And you can see here my food, -1. So that's saying my net food production is -1. So in this case, I've got 8 food production, which is on my homeworld. There it is there, 8 food. But I've got 9 people, so -1. Okay, now it changed. Now it's saying, okay, so I've got an extra person because the population growth reached 9,000 on my home world. So now I have another farmer producing 2 more food, so I've got 10 food. But I've still got, I've got 10 people. I've got 10 food, but 10 people. And hence my food is 0. Net food is 0. But now it's saying, oh, well, you need a freighter in order to transport that 1 extra food to this planet. That's why I put freighter fleet next, but I'm going to build the automated factory, and then I'll build the freighter fleet. Okay, we've encountered the Nolams. So I'm going to go ahead and have an audience with them. Each race has its own music as well, which is kind of cool. The way I play, you probably have noticed if you watch the other videos, you don't really get to hear it because I click through it all so fast. But each race has its music, and it they've tried to sort of characterize it according to each race, which I think is really cool. It's really really nice touch. Sometimes it's a shame that I just kind of speed through it, you know. Okay, so what we're going to do is in good spirits, so that's good. I'm going to propose some treaties. First of all, I'm going to go with trade treaty. So that'll give me more money. I'll give them more money too, by the way. Oh, you decline. Okay. Try research treaty. Also not interested. Now the music changed. It just picks from one of 3 random tracks, but those 3 random tracks basically say they're kind of pissed off at you, and hence the change in music. So not critical to the gameplay, of course, but nice touch, I think. So I'm a bit surprised they declined that, but I'll try again later. Okay, now we have automated factory. I'm going to get hydroponic farm just to give my food production a bit of a boost. so there's not so much burden on my home world. Okay, this guy is nice. He does have trader. I'm gonna reject for now though, because he's quite expensive. Build automated factory. Basically the research lab, except for industry or production. And I've got a fair bit of, not a huge amount of pollution, but enough to, I think it was 6 pollution. So I'm going to go ahead and hire her. Let's see how much benefit she gives me. Okay, she reduced it by 1, but I'll have her for a long time probably. And as she gains experience, I think this goes up by 1 per turn. I'm not sure if there's other factors to influence this, but she will gain experience, and then this will increase, I think, to 30%. So maybe that wasn't worth it, but let's just roll with it for now. And if industry improves, then it's going to improve by more than 1. So we'll see how we go. Meanwhile, I'm going to swap into automated factory here. I'm going to use the colonies tab to kind of check how my planets are going. I'm going to buy this. So the way money works in this game is quite interesting. You have your maintenance costs. Buildings are your main one. Leaders. Spires cost money as well, 1 BC per turn. Freighters, I think, are half a BC per freighter which is being used. And then ships, it's -10. But only if you're in excess of your command points. You've also got tribute there. That probably doesn't come up very much. So money's used mainly for maintenance. But then the other thing it's used for is you can actually, this buy function here, you actually magically spend a whole bunch of money to magically create a whole bunch of industry in production. Doesn't really make sense, but like if you try to think how is that realistic or whatever, but it is just a game, so you know you kind of have to suspend your disbelief a little bit. But basically, yeah, you can spend a whole bunch of money to suddenly have a lot more production. Yeah, it's a little bit different to I don't know if you played Civilization, but it's a little bit different to that, because in Civilization you just buy something outright, but in this game you buy the remaining production. So right now it's saying there's 51 production to go. Do you want to spend 165 to buy 51 production? It's something like 3 to 4 BC per production. I don't really know how it's calculated, but if I waited another turn, then this number would actually go down because I'm buying less production. So I'm going to go ahead and buy that. And my automated factories will both finish at the same time. Yeah, I'm going to get the marine barracks. This place already has a marine barracks. We've also got more pollution now, so you can probably imagine that the leader is reducing that pollution. Now I will build a freighter fleet. And now the other planet will no longer be starving. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to, all these planets are actually quite good. So I'm actually going to just go ahead and colonize all of these. Let's see if the Nolams are willing to deal. Okay, good. Now we've got the trade treaty. He's also happy with the research treaty now. Awesome. The other treaty is there, peace treaty. That's only if you're at war. There's non-aggression pact. That means we won't attack each other. Let's go ahead and propose that, see what happens. Okay, so he's not interested in that just yet. And then there's alliance. You have to have a non-aggression pact first before you can have an alliance. You can't just go straight to alliance. You can also break treaties, make demands. this is a good way. If you use demand technology, it's a good way to see the list of technologies that they have that you don't have. Just kind of like a summary. So there you can see. And then similarly, you can use offer gift technology. I have all these technologies, he doesn't have, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to offer them as a gift. You can also declare war and surrender. Surrender just you instantly lose the game, so it's kind of pointless, but yeah, it's there. So now, research treaty -5, trade treaty -5. So we're losing money, but as the turns go by, these will increase. The research treaty will turn into surplus research, and the trade treaty will turn into surplus cash. So that'll be really good. So just went by one turn, now it's -4, -4, so I think it says break even, I think is 5 turns and then 10 turns to reach the maximum, something like that. So it's a little bit slow to get started, but it's definitely worth it. And because I have fantastic traders, so do they, by the way. So do they, by the way. We'll both be getting a lot of money out of this. Nolums are fairly peaceful, so something to you can kind of use them that way. Generally pretty weak though to being attacked, although he's taken ship defense +50 this game, so that's interesting. They normally have low G world as well, but they took that away as part of their spending their extra points. Now here I'm going to go ahead and build housing. Basically housing, these two things here aren't actually buildings, they're just the conversion of industry into particular things. So trade goods converts your production into money, housing converts your production into population growth. So as you can see, this was +20, but then when I build housing it jumps up to +172, so that'll boost the population. Meanwhile, these colony bases are well on the way. As you can see now, we're getting extra research and extra money from this. And now we have hydroponic farm. Not actually sure what to get next, honestly. Usually just going for weapons technology and that sort of thing, but this time I'm gonna, I think cloning center is probably the way to go here, because there are all these planets. I'm subterranean, so high maximum population. I'll build a colony base, then I'll build a hydroponic farm just to get this extra food. One more turn there. So now this place has 2 people already starving, so we'll build a hydroponic farm. That'll just kind of boost it a bit. So yeah, I'm actually going to pause it there, and I know in this particular video I'm going into a lot more detail, talking a lot more about the different mechanics and different things. If you had any questions along the way, because I'm sure I skipped over something because there's so much to talk about, please leave a comment and I'm happy to talk about that and how it works. But yeah, and if this is too much commentary for you, then perhaps this particular series isn't for you, but if you check out some of my other videos, you'll see I take a very different approach to those. So just experimenting a little bit here as to you know, what is the desire of the community, that sort of thing. And yeah, having a lot of fun along the way. So take care, and I'll see you in the next one.